Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt. Anything in the center of your mind, in the center of your being, in your inner man, your inner thoughts, in your inner mind, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 molding centers, within your hands and your feet that control your body, within your axon, your dendrites, your capillaries, your left and right ventricle of your heart. Bring your mind and your consciousness to balance within yourself, that you may be able to discern between Ta'ub and Ra within yourself, to be able to discern between good and evil within yourself, and to cast away the bad and keep the good. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day of warning. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us as a gift, and a time to ourselves, to us, that we may breathe His breath, His neshama, His ruach again, that we may be renewed in our mind again, that we may bear His fruits, His love, His compassion, His mercy, His gentleness, His meekness, His temperance, His emunah, His self-control, that we may walk in His ways and His thoughts and His fruits, and not our own ways and our own fruits. For our own fruits will yield us to destruction. For today we acknowledge the one who made all of the horror of the earth, all of the horror of the earth, all of the rivers and streams, and all of the beings and the creatures of the earth, the one who gives consciousness to all creatures on the earth, surface of the earth, in the center of the earth, in the Rakia, all the way to first Shmny'ay, to the seventh Shmny'ay, all the way to His throne, where He sits in the highest Shmny'ay, even above the 13th Shmny'ay, and gives all knowledge and understanding and wisdom to all beings on the earth, whether good or evil, and gives all commands to all Satans and Satanas and demons and Shadim and evil spirits that He casts on people, and He also allows men to attain the Ruach through obedience. Yahuwah Elohim. So this Yom, as we move forward, we move forward in His fear. We move forward in the fear of Him, the fear of His recompense, His thoughts, His mind, the fear of how He thinks, and the fear of His commands, and to walk in them. So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 1. Mashali Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 1. Mashali Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, my son, when it says my son, my son and daughter, do not forget my teachings, but let your heart keep my commandments. He said, let your heart and your mind, your left and your right ventricle, pumps oxygenated and deoxygenated blood throughout your body. Right, and it says right here, let your heart keep my commandments, for length of days and years and shalom will be added to you. So we want long life, length of days and years and peace. We want to add to us. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Let not steadfast ahab, behold the strength of the house, and faithfulness, amun, forsake you. Don't let it leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablets of your heart. He said, write it. How you say? We say katab, right? Write it on the tablets of your heart, right? So this is the book of Enoch, Hanuk, Princeton version. Yeah, Princeton version, chapter 92, and verse 1. Book of Enoch, chapter 92, verse 1. It says, and after this, Hanuk began to speak from the book. And Hanuk said concerning the children of righteousness, concerning the elect of the world. Even as Yahuwah said, it would be possible, He's going to do many signs and wonders if it were possible to deceive the very elect, those who follow Sadak, righteousness. Concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of righteousness and integrity. We get integrity tamim. We're talking about perfectness, blameless. But it's talking about the plant of righteousness. He said a plant. Right? Just like it was in the garden. He gave Adam authority over the fish of the sea, fowls, every creeping thing over all the earth. And He gave him all the plants yielding seed He was given for food. Hasn't changed. He's never changed it. And of righteousness and integrity, concerning these things will I speak. Why would you speak anything other than that? If it's righteousness, to keep His commandments, even in the beginning, before Yasharal and Yehuda was even born, before Abraham was even born, before Yitzhak was even born, He was already speaking of righteousness and a righteous plan. And He said, why would I speak anything different? Because all my wisdom comes from what He put me in authority over. And it says right here, concerning the things will I speak, and these things will I explain to you, my children, I who am Hanuk, in consequence of that which has been shown to me from my heavenly vision and from the voice of the Qahalath Malakim, have I acquired knowledge. He acquired knowledge from where? How did he acquire knowledge? He said, I acquired it from what? From my visions, from the voice of the Qahalath Malakim have I acquired knowledge. He said, that's how I acquired it. And guess what he said? And from the tablet of the Shmny'ay have I acquired understanding. He said, I got all mine from where? From the Shmny'ay. I got mine from visions, that's unseen forces that you can't see. You can't see a vision. And you can't see Malakim. He said, I got it from Qahalath Malakim. These beings that fly around. I got it from them. And a tablet from Shmny'ay. I got it all from the Shmny'ay. He says, have I acquired understanding? Right? And verse 4 says, and Hanuk began to speak from a book and said, I have been born the 7th in the first week, while judgment and righteousness wait with patience. But after me, in the 2nd week, great wickedness shall arise, and fraud shall spring forth. He said, but after me. He said, after I came, then after I leave, he said, after me, he said, a whole bunch of things are going to come. Right, so this is the book of First Corinthians. It's the book of 1 Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians or Acts. This is Galatians. Let's go to Galatians. Galatians chapter 1. Galatia chapter 1 verse 11. Galatians chapter 1 verse 11. Galatians chapter 1 verse 11. It says, for I would you know, brothers and sisters, that the truth that was proclaimed or preached by me is not man's truth. For I did not receive it from any man, but from what? Nor was I taught it. I didn't get it from humans. And get what it says. But I received it through the revelation, the chazon of Yahushua Mashiach. That's how I got it. He said, I didn't get it from earth. I got it from heaven, Shmny'ay tablets. I got it from Malakim, and I got it from visions. He said, I got it from man. And he says, for you have heard my former life in Yehuda. He said, Judaism, it's a practice that was in Yahshua. I was persecuted. He said, how I persecuted the what? The Yahudim. It says the congregation of Elohim. I persecuted the Yahudim, he says, and violently tried to destroy it. I tried to destroy the people who believed on Yahushua Mashiach because I wasn't taught properly. And guess what it says? And I was advancing in Judaism. That's what it says. Beyond many of my own age among my people. He's like, man, I was literally advancing above all of them. To the point I was getting the most honor of all of them. And get what it says? Among my people. So extremely zealous was I for the traditions of my fathers. Of who? What fathers? The traditions of my fathers. What traditions? The traditions of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The traditions that were taught to them. He said, I was zealous of it. And get what it says. But when he who had set me apart before I was born, and who called me by his kind, was pleased to reveal his son to me. By what? By somebody teaching it to me? No. By the chazon of Yahushua Mashiach. And get what it says. But when he had set me apart before I was born, and who called me by his kind, was pleased to reveal his son to me, in order that I might proclaim or preach him among the Goyim, I did not immediately consult with anyone. He said, I wasn't talking to nobody. For what? And get what it says. Nor did I go up to Jerusalem to those who were the Shalakim before me. He said, I didn't tell nobody. I didn't make no announcement that I'm here. He said, I didn't do that. He said, I just kept going. And get what he said. For I went away to Arabia and returned again to Damascus. He said, I left. Once I found out, he said that I left. Right, so this is the book of, this is the book of Job chapter 6. Job chapter 6 verse 1. Job chapter 6 verse 1. It says, then Job answered and said, oh, that my vexation were weighed and all my calamity laid in the balance. For then it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words have been ravished, for the arrows of the Almighty are in me. My ruach drinks their poison. He's like, you send me poisoned arrows. He's like, and get what it says. The terrors of Elohim are arrayed against me. He's coming against me for what? Does the wild donkey bray when he has grass? So when I got food, what's the point of leaving? And it says, or the ox lord over his fodder? Can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt? Can it be eaten without salt? That which is tasteless, can it be eaten without salt? And get what it says. Or the ox, it says, or the ox low over his fodder? Can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the juice of the mallow? My appetite refuses to touch them. They are as food that is loathsome to me. He said, this is like stuff that I cast away. What happens? Why is he casting away? Oh, that I might have my request, that Elohim will fulfill my hope. He's like, I'm going to pray that I may get the food that I actually want. He said, I don't want this food. And he says, that it would please Elohim. He says, give me the fulfill. He says, oh, that I might have my request, that Elohim would fulfill my hope. That it would please Elohim to crush me. That he would let loose his hand and cut me off. But get what it says. This would be my comfort. I will even exult in pain, unsparing, for I have not denied the words of the Qahalath. Right? Going to verse 25. Go to verse 24. It says, teach me and I will be solid. Make me understand how I have gone astray. That's what he said. Do not lean to your own understanding. He said, show me. He says, show me how I've gone astray. He says, how forcible are upright words? But what does reproof from you reprove? He said, how forcible are right words? Do you think that you can reprove words when the speech of a despairing man is wind? You can't even see it. Get what it says. You would even cast lots over the fatherless and bargain over your friend. Right, so that word for in Job 6:25, it says, how forcible are right words. Right, that word for Job 6:25, it says how forcible. That word for forcible is marats. H48:34, it's marats. It means what? Forcible. It means to irritate. How he said irritate. How irritating are right words. Why? Because he said, show me where I have erred. And he said, it's going to irritate you. He says what? Vehement, irritate. He said, how forcible or marats are right words, right? Because we know what right is yashar, but it says right words. It says, and then in some words it says, what is your argument reprove? Right? But it's actually saying yakak. It says yakak. It says it twice. It says yakak means argue. It says to convict, correct, reprove, rebuke, reason, to appoint, to chasten. That's what it is. That's what right words does. It irritates you, it chastens you, it reproves you, and it shows you your error. And it's very, 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 how you say, marats. It's irritating. It's very forcible. It irritates you. It's supposed to. He said, why? Because it's supposed to keep you in that type of state. He's like, why? Why is this thing? He's like, it's irritating. Like, you ever had a bug that keep flying around your head? He said that's what it is. But it says right here, skipping over, going to last verse 28, 6:28. Let's skip over to 28. But now be pleased to look at me, for I will not lie to your face. He said, be pleased to look at me. So how he gonna look at you? Please turn and let no justice be done. Turn now, my vindication is at stake. Is there any justice on my tongue? Cannot the palate discern the cause of calamity? He said, cannot the palate discern the cause of calamity? Because he said, what do you mean? The mouth. That's what the palate is. When it tastes it, it should taste it, right? So this is the book of, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, Devarim 18 and 1. Deuteronomy 18 and 9. It says, when you come into the land that Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you, so are you in the land right now? Are you, so what is he actually talking about? How are you going to put that today? He says, when you come into the land that Yahuwah is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those people, those nations. So how are you going to apply that today? You're not in a land like these people were. You're not in a place like these people were. You're not even in it. You don't even know where you are. They spin it on the bottle cap on the table like Inception. You don't know where you are. You don't even know where anything is. Everything's all been changed about 10 times over. They stacked it on top of it over and over again like a blockchain with a layer 1. So he says, it says what? Abominable practices of the nation. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son and his daughter as an offering. Burns his son and daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interpret omens or sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination to Yahuwah. We talked about all these abominations that the nation does, but we talk about all the abominations that people have done in their life. And he said all these things, he said these are abominations. And he said, so where are these people doing this at? All around you. So when he said you come into the land, he's saying when you come to hear to the bar, when you hear to the word, he said, don't you know that everybody around you that surrounds you is doing these things? They are. He said, whether you want to hear it or not, whether you like it or not, he's saying everybody around you is doing these things as you're hearing to the bar. Because it's showing you the error of people. And by them practicing these things, right, it says right here, anyone who practices divination tells a fortune. You see the tarot card readers and you see the fortune tellers, they got businesses. They got a whole bunch of money and people come in, the consultants on ideas on how to make a business and make a bunch of money. He said, or fortunes, or interprets of omens. So these are all people who can read the constellations and know the signs on how to make money, on how to make some cash flow. Because anything these people doing is all about making gain. It has nothing to do with you. It's all about making gain. It says a sorcerer, a spellcaster for gain. That's what they do, whether for gain or not. It says right here, or a charmer, a medium, or a necromancer. These are people who do spell potions, channel the spirits of the dead, channel them up. Just like Saul went to go seek after when Shmny'ay, because he needed advice, because he ain't know what to do anymore. But it said right here, or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination. He said these are all errors. He said, how do you know? Right? This is the book of Jeremiah. It's the book of Jeremiah. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 1. chapter 6, verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 1. It says, "Flee for safety, O people of Benjamin, from the midst of Jerusalem." Why do you think Shaul was cast out of Jerusalem? He said, the people, I persecuted them. He said, man, go over here. And what tribe he was from? The tribe of Benjamin. He says, "Flee for safety, O people of Benjamin, from the midst of Jerusalem." Why do you think Shaul was like, they that have wives be as though they have none? Because they were killing them. They were taking them out. He couldn't stay in Jerusalem. He couldn't stay there. He couldn't stay there no more. But it just shows you how little verses here and there will actually show what other people are doing. And he be like, man, that's the word of Yahuwah. Exactly. But it says right here, "Blow the Turah in Tekoa and raise a signal in Bechharim, for the disaster looms out of the north, and great destruction." He's saying, what? Great destruction is coming. "The lovely and the delicately bred, and I will destroy the daughter of Saul." He said, why are you going to destroy the daughters of Saul? "Shepherds with their flocks shall come against her." For what? Against Jerusalem. Shepherds and their flock will come against Jerusalem. For what? "And shall pitch their tents around her, and they shall pasture each in his place." He said they're going to pitch their tents around Jerusalem. He said, what are they going to do that for? And get what it says. "Prepare war against her. Arise and let us attack at noon." Why are they going to attack at noon? Because that's the prayer time. He said, why do demons attack you at noontime? Because they know your stuff. They know how you operate. They know your mindset. Morning, noon, and evening, I'm going to rise and give praise to Yahuwah. They know that. They know when you get ready to do your offering. They know when you get ready to have your cogs and your mu'ahs. They know when you get ready to operate. They know when you get ready to do something. They know exactly when you're doing it. And they know exactly when to do stuff. But it says right here, and it says, "Woe to us, for the day declines, for the shadows of evening lengthen." He said, woe to us. The shadows of evening lengthens. When does the evening time lengthen and get longer and longer and longer and longer? When does the nighttime get longer and longer and longer? The longest day, longest night, winter time. The evening lengthens. That's what we're headed to. That's what we're headed to. "Arise and let us attack by night and destroy her palaces." You say, so what these spirits getting ready to do? He said, so one needs to be what? On guard. On guard against what? "For thus says Yahuwah of hosts, cut down her trees, cast up a siege amount against Jerusalem." Why do you think they come? They come and cut down all the work you did in your heart and your mind. All the trees, all the seeds that were grown, all of the knowledge and understanding and wisdom. They're coming to take all of that, and they're coming to destroy it. Right? And it says right here, "This is the city that must be punished. There is nothing but oppression within it." He said, why are all these spirits coming to attack? Because he said there's nothing but oppression in them. There's nothing but oppression in what they do, in their seeds, in their thoughts, in their mind. Right? And it says right here, As a well keeps its water fresh, so she keeps fresh her evil." He said the well is supposed to keep fresh water in there. But he said for some reason Jerusalem keeps fresh her evil inside. They got fresh water of evil. But I thought fresh water is good to drink. But inside the fresh water, he said they keep evil in it. And it says, "Violence and destruction are heard within her." What do you mean heard within? That means, know ye not that your body is the temple of Yahuwah? That means the spirits and the demons are in, Yahuwah can hear them inside of you. That's why he said, Yahuwah, show me where my ear is at. He said, they're inside of you and I can hear them talking. I can hear them speaking. And he says, "Sickness and wounds are ever before me. Be warned, O Jerusalem, lest I turn from you in disgust, lest I make you a desolation and an uninhabited land." He's like, look at you, Jerusalem. He said, look at y'all. He said, look, beware, lest I make you an uninhabited land, which means that He's going to make all your trees and everything you have on the inside, I'm going to destroy it all. And then what He say? Thus says Yahuwah of hosts, they shall glean thoroughly as a vine the remnant of Yasharal, like a grape gathers past your hand again over its branch. He's like, that's all they're going to do. They're just going to glean everything you got, and they're going to take it, and they're going to oppress you. The same spirits, the same fruits that you bear, He said they're going to take your fruit. They're going to eat it. And then they're going to come at you and oppress you with the very same fruit that you had. And they're going to take that very word, that debar, and they're going to use that very debar against you. Because that's what demons do. That's what enemies do against Jerusalem, against those who still have fresh water and evil inside. Right? This is Jeremiah chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44 in verse 15. Jeremiah chapter 44 verse 15. Actually, Jeremiah chapter 44 and 11. Therefore, Jeremiah 34 and 11. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, behold, I will set my face against you for harm, to cut off all Yehudah, and I will take the remnant of Yehudah who have set their faces to come to the land of Mizraim to live. Because they had a commandment to go to Mizraim to live. He said they got to go to Mizraim, they got to serve. Right? He said right here, and they shall be consumed. He said, you're going to get consumed. Why? Because Yahuwah said it. He said, I thought He told us to go to Nebuchadnezzar. He said, yeah, go to Mizraim too. Go there. Set your face and come to the land of Mizraim to live. And they shall all be consumed in the land of Mizraim. They shall fall by the sword and by famine. They shall be consumed. Why? Swords. He said they're going to be pestilence and earthquakes and famines in diverse places. Why? Because of what people do. Because of the behaviors, because of the evil waters they still don't have on the inside. He said, it's nothing but oppression in Jerusalem. Isn't that what you see today? Now he's talking about, he said, oh, yeah, it's oppression everywhere in the world, but Yahuwah is specifically talking about Yehudah and Yasharal. He says, you people have oppression. And your water look good, it's fresh water, but for some reason that fresh water got evil in it. And then you want to give somebody else something to drink. And it says right here, it says the land of Mizraim to live, and they shall all be consumed. And in the land of Mizraim they shall fall by the sword and by famine, and shall be consumed. From the least to the greatest, that's from the old to the young, from the rich to the poor. And it says right here, they shall die by the sword and by famine, and they shall become an oath, a horror, a curse, and a taunt. And I will punish those who dwell in the land of Mizraim, as I have punished Jerusalem. He said, they do the same thing. Even though they are in Mizraim, he said they do the same thing today. He said, I'm going to punish Jerusalem. Because you know Yahuwah is a consuming fire. Matter of fact, he said, he that committed adultery with a woman, he said he lacks understanding. And he said, he that committed adultery with a woman, he said, you will not be unpunished. And it says, by famine, and they shall become an oath, a horror, and a curse in the time. And I will punish those who dwell in Mizraim as I have punished Jerusalem, with the sword, and with famine, with pestilence, so that none of the remnant of Yehudah who have come to live in the land of Mizraim shall escape or survive or return to the land of Yehudah. People saying, when he told Moshe he wasn't going to see the land, he said, because I told you to speak to her, not hit it. He said, you ain't never going to come back to that. You're going to be in Mizraim your whole life. And he said, you're going to perish here. Why? Because of what? Let's see why. And it says, or return to the land of Yehudah, to which they desire to return to dwell there. Don't people desire to do that today? Look at what it says. For they shall not return except some fugitives. He said, just some fugitives. What happened? Then all the men who knew that their wives had made offerings to other gods. So now you see why they're going to stay there. Why would Yahuwah bring that fruit and plant it in another place? He says, then all the men who knew their wives had made offerings to other gods, and all the women who stood by, a great assembly, all the people who lived in Pathros in the land of Mizraim, answered Yirmiyahu, as for the word that you have spoken to us in the name of Yahuwah, we will not listen to you. Sound familiar? Being that so many erratic religions have been introduced into the world, we have been sent to do what? And if you take heed to our words, you will not only escape the incursions of demons, but also you will also be able to expel them from others. But it says right here, who lived in Pathros and answered Yirmiyahu, as the word of Yahuwah you have spoken to us in the name of Yahuwah, we will not listen to you. They basically said, we're going to do what we want. And get what it says, but we will do everything that we have vowed, making offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay, to Ashtoreth, to Dagon, to Ashtar command. We're gonna make our offerings to the goddess Diana, to Qahalath, to Oshun. We're gonna make our offerings to these beings. We're gonna keep doing it. And get what it says. But we will do everything that we have vowed, making offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay, and pour out drink offerings to her, and get drunk with some Hennessy, some Grey Goose. Right, get drunk with it. Like they say, get lit. We're gonna keep doing it to the goddess, to the goddess of fertility. And he says, but we will, and you get what it says, as we did both we and our fathers. But we will do everything that we have vowed, making offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay, and pour out drink offerings to her, as we did both we and our fathers. Keep pouring out drink offerings to the goddess of fertility until it come. And it says what? You and your fathers. I mean, your father taught you that. He said your father taught you to put that drink in there with some cranberry juice and put a little straw in there and drink it and toss to and fro, reel to and fro, and give your wave offering. He taught you that. He said, as the father did, so will the family do. But you get what it says. As we did both, we and our fathers, our kings and our officials in the city of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem. He said, Yehuda, Jerusalem, all the kings, all the rulers, and the fathers, all of them did it. So therefore, we're going to do exactly what they taught us. That's what people do today. But get what it says. It says, for then we had plenty of food, and prospered, and saw no disaster. Man, we ain't see no disaster. We had plenty of food, the harvest was good, we prospered, but we had plenty of money, and guess what happened? We ain't see no disaster. Nothing happened to us. He said, why would they say, oh, nothing happened to them, right? So this is the book of, right? So this is the book of, I think this is 1 Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians. James. Sorry. Yeah, this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. And guess what this is gonna do, right? This is 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 1. It says, now concerning the times and the seasons, right? Do you understand times here? A 364-day cycle on the on the 7 celestial circles, on the 4 transition times. They say after 91 days, 91 days. The understanding of the times and seasons, most people don't even understand that. So how are they going to understand this? You have no need that anyone will write to you. We have no need to have anything written to you. People need this. They don't understand times and seasons. Get what it says. For you yourselves are fully aware that the day of Yahuwah will come to you as a thief in the night. Then he just said that. The evening going to draw what? Longer. We just read in Jeremiah 6. It's going to draw longer. The evening goes longer. And what did he say? Then destruction would come after that. It says, the day of Yahuwah will come like a thief in the night. That's the day of Yahuwah. Lions, bears, and snakes, and destruction. Verse 3 says, while people are saying there is peace and security, man, we have prospered. Man, our harvest was good. We had plenty of food, and we saw no disaster. While the people are saying there is peace and safety, security, isn't that what they said there? Then sudden destruction will come upon them as labor pains come upon a pregnant woman. It's going to happen so fast, they're going to be like, ooh, what is that? Ooh. Or you know how the baby jump and then the top of your stomach jump, ooh, and it just pop up, ooh, right? It's going to happen on you. It's going to jump on you, and guess what's going to happen? Water's going to flow. You know how when a baby child is getting ready to be born, water flows out of the child, blood and water come out of her, down her leg. He said, my water broke. And it says right here, and they will not escape. He said, you ain't going to escape, because you're going to have to go through that pain. And then he said, you're going to go through pestilence and sword and famine. He said, you're going to go through it. You ain't going to escape it. He said, why you ain't going to escape it? And they will not escape. But you are not in darkness, brothers and sisters, for that day will not surprise you like a thief. It ain't going, you know why? It's a reason why. For you are the children of light. Children of the day. We are not of the night or of the darkness. He said, we are not of the darkness, right? Going back to Jeremiah chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44. In verse 17. Going back there. It says, but we will do everything that we have vowed, making offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay and pouring out drink offerings to her, as we did, both we and our fathers, our kings, our rulers, kings and our officials in the cities of Yehudah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For there we had plenty of food and prospered, and we saw no disaster when we were doing all those offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay to worship these goddesses, these gods, right? And get what it says. But since we left off making offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked everything and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. He said, since we stopped, he's like, we've been consumed by sword and famine. We ain't getting nothing. We ain't prospering. We don't have anything. Ever since we stopped, we ain't prospering like we used to. We ain't got plenty of food like we used to. And all this disaster coming upon us. Why? And the woman said, when we made offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay and poured out drink offerings to her, was it without our husband's approval that we made cakes for her, bearing her image, and poured out drink offerings to her? He said, was it not without our husband's approval we did that? He said, so they did it on their own, and they even say, oh, you know what? We just went and go offer it to a God, because you know why? Because we're struggling. We're struggling, and we need to go find another God to serve in order for us. Yahuwah, forget Yahushua Mashiach. We need to go find another Elohim to serve so we can prosper, get likes, and get all these likes, and get all these things, the people that like us and love us. But it says right here, it says, when we made offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay and poured out drink offerings to her, was it without our husband's approval that we made cakes for her, bearing her image, and poured out drink offerings to her? He said, was it without their approval? No. So what did they do? What did the woman do? They continued to do what was already been taught to them. Because the husband said, it's okay. It's all right. Have a great time. You can go to the club. You can go to the festival. You can go to the divorce celebration that somebody just got divorced, right? You can go to the nice little ceremony with the 2 women and the 2 men, right? You can go over here. Who cares? You can go to Qahalath. They got good drinks over there too. They got some good drinks over there at the pyramids. Over in fake Mizraim, there's pyramids everywhere in the world. Right? They pour out drink all over the place. You can go. No, don't worry about it. The concert, don't matter. The concert, the person sings really good, but for some reason, the person doing all types of other stuff. And they get the drink and they pour the drink off. Lift your hands up in the air. And they get the bottle and they pour it up on the stage. Oh, don't worry about it. They ain't not offering to no other gods. You're good. Everything's okay. And it says, approval that we made cakes for her, bearing her image, and poured out drink offerings to her. And get what they put that on cake too. They get it a draw, and they draw a whole little thing on there. They make it look nice and good, and make it look beautiful. And you be like, how many marriages? This is my 18th marriage, and you be going. He's like, I'm not going. For what? He said, what about the 17? What about all them other 17? What happened to that? What happened to the other 5? Like Yahushua was the woman at the well. What happened to those? And the one you got ain't your husband. How many you got? And they keep going. And they put, you know how they throw? They throw hundreds and thousands and hundreds and millions of dollars in there. And guess what? They still prosper too. They got plenty of food. They fat. Right? Look at what it says. Then Yirmiyahu said to all the people, men and women, all the people who had given him this answer. As for the offerings that you offer in the cities of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem, you and your fathers, your kings, and your officials, and the people of the land did not Yahuwah remember them? He said, did it not come into his mind? Yahuwah could no longer bear your evil deeds, the abominations that you committed. Therefore, your land has become a desolation and a waste and a curse without inhabitant, as it is this day. It is because you made offerings and because you sinned against Yahuwah and did not obey the voice of Yahuwah or walk in his Torah or in his kukah, his statutes, his testimonies, that this disaster has happened to you as this day. Right? That's the only reason. And get what it says, verse 24 says, Yirmiyahu said to all the people and all the women, hear the word of Yahuwah, all you of Yehuda who are in the land of Mizraim. So who he talking to? He's talking to the women too, right? He said, all you women in the land of Mizraim, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, the Elohim of Yasharal, you and your wives have declared with your mouths and have fulfilled it with your hands, saying, we will surely perform our vows that we have made, to make offerings to the queen of Shmny'ay and to pour out drink offerings to her. Then confirm your vows and perform your vows. It says, therefore, hear the word of Yahuwah. All you and Yehuda who dwell in the land of Mizraim, behold, I have sworn by my great name, says Yahuwah, that my name shall no more be invoked by the mouth of any man of Yehuda in the land of Mizraim, saying, as Yahuwah Elohim lives. Behold, I am watching over them for disaster and not for good. He said, why would he do that? This is Psalms 82 and 1. Psalms 82 and 1. Psalms 82 and 1. Tahalim 17. He say Psalms 82 and 1. It says Elohim. It says Psalms 82 and 1. Tahalim. It says Elohim has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. So he's talking to both man and woman. So what does that make then? What does that make those men and women that Yirmiyahu was holding judgment to? Gods. And he says, how long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked, Selah? Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them out of the hand of the wicked. That's what I think Yirmiyahu was trying to do. Once he spoke it, they had to deliver themselves and say, just like Lot in the house with his wife. They had to get out of there and get out of the practice of doing it. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. Why do he say it's not going to come upon us like a day, I say a thief in the night? It's not going to come upon us unawares. That disaster. They say peace and safety, but it's not going to come upon us unawares. Why? Because we already knew ahead of time. Here come the storms. Here come the hurricane. Here come all the things that's getting ready to happen. It's coming. You just ain't, he said it ain't happened yet. It's coming. Right? And it says, they have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. Huh? What's getting ready to shake? Earthquakes in diverse places. But what did he say in verse 6? I said you are gods, because he holds judgment in the midst of gods. Sons of the Most High. How you say? The one in the highest Shmny'ay. All of you, nevertheless, like Adam, you shall die. Why do you say like Adam? Both male and female. And fall like any prince. But we stop offering to the goddesses. Guess what happened? We ain't prospering like we used to. We ain't getting them. But if we do that, we get paid. We get paid our money. We get filled with all types of food, and we have no disaster. But he says, you shall fall like any prince. You shall die, move like one prince. He said, you're gonna fall like one prince. But he said, I thought we, right, this is the book of, right, so this is the book of, it's at 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 5. 1 Timothy chapter 6, let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 2. Actually, verse 3. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 3. If anyone teaches a different doctrine and does not agree with the sound words of our master Yahushua Mashiach in teaching that accords with righteousness, he or she is puffed up with conceit and understands nothing. What else they done? He has an unhealthy craving for controversy. They always want to fight. For controversy, what? They always have something else to say. But it says, and for quarrels about words. Isn't that what they were doing in Yirmiyahu? Everything you said, we still gonna do it regardless of what you said. And get what it says, which produce envy, dissension, slander, evil suspicions, and constant friction among people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth. Why? Because what are those people going to do? It says, imagining that godliness is means of gain. Huh? That righteousness is the means of gain. That's what they said. We're going to still offer them to the God. We still going to use the same missionary gods. We still going to use it. You know why? Because if we don't do it, we're going to lose all our money. That's the only reason they keep doing it. It's all because they're going to lose their gain. They're going to have no more food. Their stomach going to go down. They ain't gonna be prosperous no more. They ain't gonna have no more jets. They ain't gonna be flying no more. They ain't gonna be looking good, feeling good. And guess what? They gonna get some disaster because they gonna get punished for all the stuff they did after they repent. They don't want that. You don't want to suffer nothing because you know you're gonna get punished. And you say, if I acknowledge my sin, that means I'm gonna acknowledge Yahuwah as my father. Then if I acknowledge Yahuwah as my father, then that means he gonna beat my behind like a father and a mother do his son. After I admit that I did it. And I ain't gonna be prospering like I used to. That's the only reason they still continue to use it. That's why they afraid of Yahuwah and Yahushua Mashiach. Because they know they're gonna have to stop. But get what it says, they ain't gonna get no more likes anymore. All your likes gonna go down. All your influence gonna go down. All your YouTube channel subscriptions gonna leave. You ain't gonna get that much attention anymore. Right? You're going to have to pay a whole bunch of money just to get some likes, just to get some people even listen to you. Right? You're going to lose all that money, right? It's going to be hard. They don't want that. But it says right here. And it says, and constant friction among people who deprave in mind of the truth. But God righteousness with contentment is great gain. You got to be content. He's like, okay, it doesn't matter. I just got to just stop doing it. Be content whether I'm hungry or full. Isn't that what Shaul said? Hungry or full, abounding or not abounding, He said, I learned it in whatsoever state be content. Why? Because he learned. I'm going to still get punished for everything I did, but at the same time, I'm just going to be content. Because if I keep going after this game, I'm going to worship a god, another god, idol, a goddess. You get what it says? For we brought nothing into this world. You didn't bring that in the world. When you came into the world, you didn't know none of these guys' names. I didn't know none of these guys' names. When we came into this world, I knew the guys that my parents told me, but guess what I said? I'm not offering no more drink offers to that God anymore. Then you find out some other guy's name, he's like, I don't know about that. Then you find the one, you're like, yeah, that's it. Then you're like, oh, everybody they're looking at me funny now. But it says right here, for we brought nothing in this world, and we cannot take anything out of it. I didn't bring it. But if we have food and clothing, before they were prospering, they had all this money. He said, man, we were offering drink offers to these gods. We were worshiping it. That's the whole point. When you start worshiping and inquiring of it, like necromancers and spirit channelers and sorcerers, and you start doing those things that we taught about the Bible, and when you start doing it, and you start worshiping it, then it becomes, I thought you had another, is there not an Elohim and Yasharal that you're requiring of us? What you asking us for? And it says, we cannot take anything out of this world, but if we have food and clothing, with these, we will be content. He's like, I'm good. Everything else is extra. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not, if Yahuwah be merciful to me. But other than that, he said, just be food and raiment and be content. You ate today, you got some clothes. Yeah, okay. And it says right here, with these, we will be content. But those who desire to be rich, you know what's going to happen when you desire to be rich? You're going to worship another God. You're going to have to. You're going to have to comply. Like he says, Hydra, shield, you must comply. Right? I'm ready to comply, right? You're going to do it. And it says, but those who desire to be rich will fall into temptation. He said, you're going to go right into it. In a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and what? Destruction. That's what happened to those people. He said, go ahead and worship your gods. But just know Yahuwah has already claimed for you disaster for you. And destruction. And get what it says. For the love of money, For the love of money. Because that's what they wanted doing it for. They couldn't stop. That's why all these people will never stop. The love of money, right, is the root of all kinds of evils. People say, why they get all this stuff out here now? Why are people getting all this money and wealth and all this stuff out of nowhere? No, it's for a reason. It's just the fact they trying to keep your mind so distracted to the fact that who is Yahuwah, Elohim, in my mind, that I should obey him and his voice. You ain't even gonna hear his voice anymore. You'll be like, you ain't even gonna hear him anymore. It says all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the Amunah and pierced themselves with, they just self-inflicted wounds with many, it says pains, it says many wounds. But as for you, O man of Elohim, flee these things. Pursue righteousness, right? Seek ye first the Malkut, the kingdom. Righteousness, Amunah, love, steadfastness, gentleness. Fight the good fight of faith, Amunah. Take hold of eternal life, to which you were called and about which you made the good confession in the presence of many witnesses. I charge you in the presence of Elohim, who gives life to all things, and of Mashiach Yahusha, who in his testimony before Pontius Pilate made a good confession to keep the commandments unstained and free from reproach until the appearing of Yahushua Mashiach. Right? Why would he say that? Why would he say that? Right? This is the book of James, chapter 1. James. Actually, let's go here. The book of Micah. It's the book of Micah. of Micah, chapter 3. Micah, chapter 3, verse 6. Micah, chapter 3, verse 6. Therefore, it shall be night to you without vision, and darkness to you without divination. It's going to be what? It's going to be night to you without a vision. He said, how did Hanuk get it? He said, I got it all by visions. Matter of fact, I got it by Malachi, and I got it from the tablets of Shmny'ay. And it says, and darkness to you without divination. He said, without divination. You ain't going to be able to divine it out. You ain't going to be able to get it. You get what it says? Just like he told, drink wine, but not get drunk. Since the sun shall go down on the Nabi'im, the prophets, and the day shall be black over them. He's going to be black over them. Why do you think the sun went down from the 6th to the 9th hour when Yahushua Mashiach on totality? He was literally signifying that it was going to be night to them without a vision. And guess what? It's going to be darkness without divination. And it's going to be darkness over all the Nabi'im in Jerusalem in Matthew chapter 27. He said from the 6th to the 9th hour, there was darkness over the land to the 9th hour. And guess what happened? The seers shall be disgraced and the diviners put to shame. Right? And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out. And guess what he said? They shall all cover their lips. He said, they ain't going to answer. He said, they ain't going to answer not a word. They ain't going to say nothing. What happened? For there is no answer from Elohim. My Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? And guess what it says? But as for me, I am filled with power. He said, I am filled with power. With Atstum, a great and powerful people, such as there never was since man was on the face of the earth. And get what it says? With the Ruach of Yahuwah, and with justice and might, to declare to Yaakov his transgressions, and to Yasharal his sin. How forcible are right words? How forcible are they? Reprove. How forcible are they? Marats, how irritating is it? Hear this, you heads of the house of Yaakov, and the rulers of the house of Yasharal, who detest justice, and make crooked all that is straight. Because you love your money. He said you love that game, you love the attention. Guess what? You gotta worship some God. You gotta call him God. And you gotta use him too. And get what it says? Who built Zion with blood, and Jerusalem with iniquity? With what? With iniquity? And what else? Its heads give judgment for a bribe. Its priests teach for a price. And get what they do? Its Nabi'im practice divination for money. For what? For gain. They all doing it for money, for gain. And guess what? People still calling on the same guys they call on. And get what it says? Yet they lean on Yahuwah, and they still call on Yahuwah too. They say Yahuwah, and then they say the other guys. Right? They say, yeah, that guy too. No. He said they lean on Yahuwah and say, is not Yahuwah in the midst of us? He's like, there ain't no disaster because if Yahuwah he's in the midst of us, right? Because we know we don't want no disaster to happen to us. You get what it says? Is not Yahuwah in the midst of us? No disaster shall come upon us. We don't want. Oh. He said, no disaster will come upon us, right? Therefore, because of you, Saon shall be plowed as a field. He said, I'm gonna plow that place up. That whole place you in, I'm gonna plow it up. I'm gonna plow it up just like he said, I'm gonna plow it up just like a field. Ain't that what you're doing in autumn? He said a fool doesn't plow in autumn, a lazy person plow in autumn. He said in the harvest time coming, you ain't gonna have nothing. He said, Saon shall be like a plowed as a field, Jerusalem shall become a heap of ruins, and the mountains of the house a wooded height. He said it's gonna become a wooded height. This is the book of James. This book of James. This book of James, chapter 1. This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse. James chapter 1. This is James chapter 1. Yeah, James chapter 1, verse 2. It says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials in various kinds, for you know that the testing of your emunah produces steadfastness. And let the steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. And if anyone of you lacks hukmah, wisdom, let him ask Yahuwah, who gives generously to all without reproach. It will be given him. But let him ask in Amunah, without doubting, with no doubting, for no one who doubts is like, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he should receive anything from Yahuwah. He's a double-minded man. He said two-faced. Double-minded man or woman. He said you two-faced, unstable in all his ways, her ways. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation. He said, when I get exalted, he said, when you get exalted. He said, I was down there so long. You know how long I was down there? He said, boast in your exaltation when you get exalted. It says, and the rich in what? And the rich in his or her humiliation. That's why they said, when we had our other gods, we were prosperous, we had plenty of stuff, money, and we saw no disaster. He said, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass, he will pass away. He said, just like a flower pass away, just like in the cold season, because that's what we're moving to. The evening is going longer, as Shmny'ay said, and guess what? The flowers are withered. Do you see them anymore? And guess what it says? For the sun rises with its scorching heat. Who can hide from the heat? And withers the grass. Its flowers fall, and its beauty perishes. He burns it up. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. Skipping to verse 16. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. Isn't that what Hanuk said? He said, I learned this from visions, from the Malachim, and from the Shmny'ay tablets that came from the Shmny'ay. He said, that's why I learned the 364-day cycle with the 4 transitions. There's 91 days per cycle. I learned early summer and late summer, early winter and late winter. I learned that it is fixed on the 7 celestial circles. I learned that. He said, I learned that. Ain't nobody taught me that. He said, the only person who taught me that was the one from above. Nobody taught me that to me. And get what he says. He said, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. I am Yahuwah, I change not. What make you think he changed? Yahuwah hasn't changed. He's the same person. Of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruit of his creatures. He said, first fruit of his creatures, right? Right, so this is the book of James chapter 2 and verse 4. James, Jacob chapter 2 verse 4. It says, have you not then made distinction among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? We just talked about Shmny'ay how the waters, they still have evil on the inside of the fresh water. And he says, you make judgment with evil thoughts. Listen, my beloved brothers, has not Elohim chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in Amunah and heirs to the Malkuth? He said, why would we be poor? He said, because they had to get rid of all their idols. They had all the things they're inquiring of. They literally had to make themselves poor. They had nothing, because them people, they couldn't make any more money through divination, through sorcery, through enchantments. They couldn't inquire their fortunes. They couldn't make drink offers to the queen of Shmny'ay. They couldn't do that anymore. They couldn't offer up the drink offering. They now became a poverty. They couldn't prosper. They couldn't get that attention like they used to anymore. They couldn't get that fame like they used to anymore. They couldn't produce it anymore like everybody else. They couldn't do it because they said they wasn't doing it. They had to spend extra just to even get to the love, just to even produce anything for themselves. He said, but yeah, you got Amunah though. You got the belief. He said, what part of that don't you love? But it says right here, it says, rich and heirs to the kingdom of Shmny'ay, which he has promised to those who love him. He said, I promised it to you. I love Yahuwah. He said, so guess what? I ain't got to worship them other God. I ain't got to do that. He said, he promised to those who ahab him. He said, not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. But you have dishonored the poor man. He said, what? The poor man? They said, dishonor the poor man. Because you know what happens when you get a lot of people? You get a whole bunch of people. I got thousands and hundreds and thousands. Guess what you get? You get a lot of money. And guess what happens? When you get hundreds and thousands, when you worship them other gods, you get all this prospering, right? And guess what happens after that? He said, you dishonor the poor man. Are not the rich ones who what? Oppress you? Isn't that what them guys do? Oh, the same oppression that those queen of Shmny'ay, when they were pouring out drink offerings to them, they were oppressing. There was oppression in the midst of Jerusalem. In Jeremiah chapter 6, there was oppression. They had fresh water, but it was evil in the water. They were oppressing. It was full of oppression. They were rich. He said, they're not the rich oppress you. He was like, I got destruction for you. He said, they oppress you. And the ones who drag you, he says, are not the rich the ones who oppress you, and the ones who drag you into the court? He said, they're going to take you right to the judgment. Are they not the ones who blaspheme the honorable name by which you were called? What do? They worship other gods. They blaspheme his name. That's what they were doing in Jeremiah. The same thing. They blaspheme. And guess what they said? If you really fulfill the royal Torah, he's like, if you really gonna do this thing, according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. You are doing well. He said, why are you oppressing the poor? The poor man ain't got all that. He said, why? Right? This is 1 Samuel. This is 1 Samuel. I think it's 1 Samuel. Yeah. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, chapter 12, verse 1. 2 Samuel, chapter 12, verse 1. 2 Samuel, Shmny'ay, chapter 12, verse 1. And Yahuwah sent Nathan to David, and he came to him, and he said to him, there were two men in a certain city, the one rich and the other poor. He's like, hold up, I ain't got. Well, he prospering, but he said the other was poor. The rich man had very many flocks and herds. Man, look how many people they got. They got flocks and herds. You know how they say, you my sheep. Sheep everywhere, right? Herds and people and flocks and hundreds and thousands, right? Hundreds and thousands, right? Many flocks and herds. But the poor man, how much the poor man had? He said, do not the rich oppress you? People say, why Yahushua said that? But the poor man had nothing but one little ewe lamb. He said, all I got is one. He's like, what you gonna do? And he says, which he had bought. He had bought with what? He only got one little ewe lamb. I bought it. And guess what he said? And he brought it up, and it grew up with him and with his children. It grew up with him, with his children. And guess what it said? It used to eat of his morsels and drink from his cup and lie in his arms. He said he did all that. And it was like a daughter to him. It was just like a daughter to him. It's like a man has a daughter. He said, where does the daughter need to be at? In her father's arms. Isn't that amazing? He said, what does the daughter need to be? In her father's arms. What does the wife need to be? In her husband's arms. And guess what he said? He says, lie in his arms. And it was like a daughter to him. Now there came a traveler to the rich man. He says, and there came a traveler to the rich man. And he was unwilling to take one of his own flock or herd to prepare for the guests who had come to him. But he took the poor man's lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. He took the man's lamb and he gave it to somebody else. And guess what happened? Then David's anger was greatly kindled against that man. He's like, man, you should be upset. He's like, you see does not the rich oppress you? You should be upset. Look at what it said. And he said to Nathan, as Yahuwah lives, the man who has done this deserves to die. Hold up. If you oppress the poor, you deserve to die? Yeah. He said, you deserve to die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold. Fourfold. He's like, man, you need to give him, for the price of one, you need to give him 4 more. You get what he said? Because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. He had no pity. He delivered over the lamb, he had no pity. And people say, why did Judas, when he delivered over Yahushua, and he delivered him over, and he had no pity on the one man, only lamb? Behold, the Lamb of Yahuwah who takes away the sin of the world. For Allah, he so loved the world, he gave his only son. He ain't had no pity for one lamb. He said he took that bitch, man. He took the poor man's lamb. Yahuwah like, I ain't rich like that. All I got is one. Yahuwah like, I ain't rich like that. I only got one lamb. And you took my one lamb that I got, and then you took that lamb and you offered it up, and you literally cooked it. And then you gave it to a bunch of strangers. A man who just came by, you just took that lamb and you gave it to them, didn't you? Yahuwah like, I ain't got all that wealth like y'all. You know how people say, I ain't got all that wealth like you. And get what he said? And he had no pity on it. You get what he said? And Nathan said to David, you are the man. He said, you are the people, Yahuwah. Who did it? You are the people who did it. And it says, thus says Yahuwah, the Elohim Yasharal, I anointed you, Malach over Yasharal. Why do you think the woman came with an alabaster box on this one? And he says, and I delivered you out of the hand of Saul. Why do you think he did it? For what? And I gave you to your master's house and your master's wives into your arms, and gave you the house of Yasharal and Yehuda. Why do you think they said, if you be the son of Yasharal, come down from the cross, if you be the king of Yehuda? Is this not the Malach of the Yahudim? As they said about Yahushua Mashiach. It says, and if this was too little, I would add to you as much more. I'll give you more. But for some reason, you are in a prospering way. You got these idols in your heart. And now, you're oppressing somebody who ain't got nothing. And guess what happens after that? I'll give you much more. Why have you despised the word of Yahuwah to do what is evil in his sight? You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and has killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Right. So this is the book of Sirach. This is the book of Sirach. I think this is Sirach 38. Sirach 38. Sirach 38. Sirach chapter 13. Sirach 13 and 1. Sirach 13 and 1. Sirach 13 and 1. Sirach 13 and 1. And it says, he that touches pitch shall be defiled therewith, and he that hath fellowship with a proud man or woman shall be like unto him. He said, proud. What do you mean proud? And it says right here, burden not thyself above thy power while thou livest, and have no fellowship with one that is mightier and richer than thyself. Why would he do that? He said, man, you see, how many you got? I only got one ewe lamb. He said, how many you got? I got 1,000. He said, you're way mightier than me. Why would he say not to do that? Richer than thyself. For how agree the kettle and the earthen pot together? He's like, how they gonna happen? And he says, for it is the one, he says, for if the one be smitten against the other, it shall be broken. The rich man have done wrong, and yet he threateneth withal. Man, they take the very bar that you speak, and he said they start threatening you with it, the very thing that you said. But look at what he said: the poor is wronged, and he must entreat also. He said the poor do the same thing. Verse 4 says, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. That's why. They only going to use you. Use you for what? He said to use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. That's what he's going to do. He's going to take that one little bit you got, you little poor person. You take that one little bit you got, and then if you ain't got nothing, he said, you know what? Get out of my face. He'll forsake you. You get what it says? If thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear, and will not be sorry for it. He won't even have no pity for it. He won't even have no pity. Just like he didn't have pity for Yahuwah's only lamb. He said, Yahuwah is rich. He said, man, Yahuwah only got one lamb. He said, I'm poor. I'm a poor man. He said, have not Yahuwah chose the poor for salvation? He said, because they rich in the faith. He says, verse 6 says, if he have need of thee, he will deceive thee. That's why he said, why he said that? They're going to deceive you. Take heed to yourself. Let no man deceive you. And get what it says. And smile upon thee, and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair, and say, what wantest thou, man? What you need? But guess what he says? And he will shame thee by his meats, because he got all that. He's going to shame you by his meats. But guess what he said? Until he have drawn thee dry twice or thrice, and at the last he will laugh thee to scorn afterwards. He said he's going to laugh. Once you lose everything, once you lost everything, once you have nothing, that person, that human being, he's going to laugh you to scorn. Because you poor, and you go to the rich person, and guess what? They're going to laugh you to scorn. That's your Yehuda in Yerushalayim. They're going to laugh you to scorn. And you know what they're going to do after that? You know what they did to Yahushua Mashiach? He's sleeping, they laughing to scorn. He said, no, he ain't dead, he's sleeping. They laughing to scorn. And get what he said? He said, he will laugh. He said, laugh thee to scorn afterwards. When he seeth thee, he will forsake thee and shake his head at thee. Beware that thou be not deceived and brought down in jolting. If thou be invited of a mighty man, withdraw thyself. And so much the more will he invite thee. He's like, he gonna keep pursuing you, keep poking at you. Come fellowship with us, come be with us. He gonna keep poking at you. You know why? Because he got a lot. You know how when people get a lot? Come see it. Come see what I got. And you a poor person? He gonna keep poking at you. And guess what happened? It says, press not thou upon him, lest thou be put back. Stand not far off, lest thou be forgotten. Affect not to be made equal unto him in talk, and believe not his many words. For with much communications will he tempt thee, and smiling upon thee will get out thy secrets. Because you know you're a poor man. Has not Yahuwah chose the poor to be rich in the Munah? So why do you think all these people who prosper and got all this stuff? Why do you think they want you to come? He said, man, you only got one little lamb. You know why they want you to come? Because they want to get your secrets. What you know? Because you're rich in the Munah. They got all that. But guess what happens after that? Verse 12 says, but cruelty he will lay upon thy words. He's going to start talking about your words, and will not spare to do thee hurt, and to put thee in prison. Observe and take good heed, for thou walkest in peril. By the overthrowing will thou hearest these things, awake in thy sleep. Going to verse 21. A rich man beginning to fall is held up. All right, going to verse 20. As the proud hate humility, so that the rich abhor the poor. What do you mean? Proud hate humility. Because he said, don't walk in the way of the proud. Why? Because you're going to, guess what? Don't the rich, you see how the rich oppress you? Do not they fall in many temptations? Do they not worship idols? Do they not? I mean, we don't get no disaster. We prosper all the time. He said, I don't know about that. He said, the proud hate humility, so that the rich abhor the poor. They don't want them humble. So he said, that's why they want you to come. He said, how much you got? Just 1 year, 2, maybe 3. How much you got? I got 1,500. Strong. Stadium. 150 million. I got a whole bunch of stuff, man. I got thousands of likes. Hundreds of thousands, 200,000 subscribers, 150,000, right? That's what they do. Because they call them other gods. And get what it says? It says, as the proud hate humility, so that the rich abhor the poor. He said, I already know you abhor me. And get what it said? He said, Yahuwah already knows. So people be like, oh, Yahuwah be like, I already know what these people are going to do to you. Why do you think he told the men of Elohim? He said, when you go, make sure you don't eat no bread. Make sure you don't drink nothing in this place. He already knew. Don't you go. And get what he did. You on here and you went, huh? Because you know how the men prospered. You came by. You know how you prosper. Worshiping other gods. Rest yourself. Stay right here. Yeah, exactly. And he says, a rich man beginning to fall is held up by his friend. Held up of his friend. You know why? Because they depend on that. They depend on that person to keep falling into oppression, falling into temptation, worshiping other gods. They depend on that person. That's why they're holding him up. He's like, we gotta keep this. Oh no, we depend on this person. This person falls, then we all gonna fall. And guess what happened? So a rich man beginning to fall is held up by his friends, but a poor man being down is thrust away by his friends. They throw him away. They cast you out. Who are you to teach us? They throw you out. Yahushua like, you still believe on Yahushua Mashiach? You still do? Okay. It says, verse 22 says, when a rich man is fallen, he have many helpers. Because he rich, he got a lot of people. He got a lot of people. He speaketh things not to be spoken. They use profanity, cursing people out. Thus said 1 Corinthians, deceiving people, saying all types of things to get money and gain, twisting words. He said you shouldn't even be speaking that. Taking words, stealing things. You notice they steal things. Why they steal it from the poor? People say, why he said I'm against you who steal my words from one another? Why do you think he said that? Because they don't use it. You get what it says? That he speaketh things not to be spoken. Yet men justify him. They still justify him. Like, yeah, you know, you good. Let no filthy communication proceed out of your mouth. Worshiping other gods and idols. Don't even let it be heard from your mouth. They still call on it though. Yahuwah, blah, 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 whatever other God you call. They still do it. And get what he said? He said, men justify him. And the poor man slip. Man, you do one thing wrong. Poor man slip one time. I ain't got that much. You get what he says? And yet they rebuked him too. You get what he said? He spake wisely and could not have no place. He said, I don't even want to hear what you got to say. We don't want to hear nothing you got to say. You get what he said? Verse 23, when a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue. And look what he said. They extol it to the clouds. But if the poor man speak, they say, what fellow is this? Man, you little tiny little bug. And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him. They're gonna help. They all gonna join together to overthrow that little poor little man with only one lamb. Who is that? Who is that man? Just one man. But one man got one lamb. And you took the man's lamb and you killed him. He stumbled one. He said, what is this fellow? And if he stumbled, they will help overthrow. They're going to help. They're going to be an azar to each other. Ha 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 ha. Look at him. They're going to laugh you to scorn. Get what it says. Verse 24, this is the last thing. Riches are good unto him that have no sin. Uh-oh. He said, it's only good to those who ain't got no sin, no kata. So you're telling me, he's saying, so what? You're perceiving that I have sin? He says, yeah, you have sin. He said, you have sin. And guess what he says? He said, riches is only good to them who are without no sin, and poverty is evil in the mouth of the ungodly, unrighteous. He said, why would he say poverty is evil to the unrighteous? Because when those people were worshiping other gods, they were like, we worship the queen of Shmny'ay. We prosper in food. We prosper in abundance. Man, we've seen no disaster. Why would we stop doing that? Because they're unrighteous. Because they're unrighteous. Because they're unrighteous, right? And it says right here, let me see, I'm going to read this. The heart of the man changes his countenance, whether it be for good or evil. And a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, right? So this is last two verses, last two things. And so this is the book of Matthew. Luke chapter 12, Oriah chapter 12, verse 13. Luke chapter 12, Oriah 12, 13. It says, someone in the crowd said to him, teacher, my brother is divided. He says, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. But he said to him, man who made, and he said to me, man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you? Who did that? And he said to them, take care and be on guard against covetousness. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And he told them a parable, saying, the land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. You know how you say they were prospering. They had plenty of harvest, food. They had no disaster. And get what it says. I have many crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax. Isn't that what they say today? Relax. Relax, eat, and drink, and be merry. Huh? Drink offerings. Drink and be merry. Continue to prosper. Continue to gain, get your gain. Continue to keep calling on gods. Continue to do it. And prosper. Continue to do it. You get what he said? But Elohim said to him, fool. What happened? This night, when did Jeremiah say? The evening is now being lengthened. This night is what? Your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? He said, it won't come to us like a woman in travail, unawares. It ain't gonna happen to us. But hear what he says. So is the one who lays up treasures for himself and is not rich toward you. He said, you did that for yourself. Because there ain't no way in the world. He said, I did it all for myself. He said, yeah, you did it for yourself. He said, look at my bar. Look at how much I'm prospering. But he said, look, you can get all of that. But what profit is it he said, to gain everything, the whole world, and lose your life, your soul in the next life? What profit is that? What profit is to gain all of that and lose your life? Right? What profit is that? Right? So this is the book of Job. chapter 41. Actually, this book of Job, Aydah, chapter 42, verse 1. This book of Job, chapter 42, verse 1. Book of Job, Aydah, chapter 42, verse 1. Then Aydah answered Yahuwah and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Hear, and I will speak. I will question you, and you make it known to me. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. Therefore I despise myself. And do what? You despise what? I despise myself and repent in the dust and ashes. He said, that's what one got to do. He said, why? He said, you still worship other gods. You still practicing all these fortunes and necromancy and channeling spirits and channeling the dead. Still offering drink offerings to other gods and idols. Still filling your treasure in your barns and all that with other gods and the names of other gods. You still, filling your heart and your mind with these things. You still storing up all these things within yourself. He said, you're going to reap all of that destruction. So he said, you got to fall on your face. He said, why? Because Yirmiyahu said, I plan destruction for you. He said, you know what? We're going to still go. Matter of fact, it's okay. Go ahead and go. It's all right. You go ahead and go. It's good. No, it ain't. It says, therefore, I despise myself and repent in the dust and ashes. And Yahuwah he says, after Yahuwah had spoken these words, what happened? What he said? He says, after Yahuwah had spoken these words to Yahuwah said to Eliphaz, the Temanite, my anger burns against you and against your two friends. Why? What happened to Job? Job lost everything he had. He went poor. He literally was sitting on dunghill and ashes for many years. He lost everything. He literally lost it all. Matter of fact, he learned in whatsoever state, he said, to be content. He realized within himself, his reason returned to him. You get what it said? And after Yahuwah had spoken these words, because do not the rich oppress you? Guess what happened? And Yahuwah had spoken these words to Yahuwah said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my anger burns against you and against your two friends. Why? For you have not spoken of me what is right. You know what happened to Job? You remember what happened to Aydah and all that stuff y'all was saying to him? And all those things you were running your mouth on? Guess what he said? He said, you ain't speaking what's right. And guess what he said? As my servant Aydah has, he said, you haven't done it. He said, Job lost everything he had. He was scraping the very things off his skin. He had everybody rebelling and everything he had was taken. And get what he said? Now therefore take 7 bulls. 7 what? 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Aydah and offer up a burnt offering for yourselves. And my servant Aydah shall pray for you. Pray for you for what? For I will accept his prayer, not to deal with you according to your folly. He said, do not the rich oppress you. For you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Aydah has. So Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shushite and Zophar and Naamite went and did what Yahuwah had told them. Even though you don't speak what is right, even though you haven't said what is right, Yahuwah said you still gonna obey the word. You still gonna obey what Yahuwah says. You still gotta obey what Yahuwah says. You still have to do it. And get what he says. And they said, did what Yahuwah had told them. And Yahuwah accepted Ehu's prayer. And did what? Verse 10 says, and Yahuwah restored the fortunes of Ehu. And did what? When he had prayed for his friends. He said when he prayed for his friends. And it says, and Yahuwah gave Ehu twice as much as he had before. Then came to him all his brothers and sisters and all who had known him before and ate bread with him in his house, and they showed him sympathy and comforted him for all the evil that Yahuwah had brought upon him. He said he comforted him. Why would they comfort him? Why would they comfort him? And each of them gave him a piece of money and a ring of gold. He said they were rich. Why would you go and oppress the poor? Aydah was a poor man. Why would you show up and you gonna oppress the poor? He said he gave him everything, gave him stuff. And Yahuwah barak the latter days of Ehu more than the beginning. He said, why would you do that? They all came to him and ate his bread. They used to do that. He said, I remember when you had a whole bunch of stuff. I remember you used to help us. I remember you used to give to us. I remember you used to help us. But guess what? We used to do that with you. But then they came and they gave something back to him for all the stuff that he did for them. Right, so this is the book of 1 Corinthians. We almost finished. Sorry. This is the first. This is almost the end. This is the end right here. Alright, so this is chapter 11. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 27. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 27. Whoever therefore eats the bread and drinks the cup of Yahuwah in an unworthy manner will be guilty concerning the body of the blood of Yahushua. Let a person examine himself, then so he eat the bread and drink the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body of Mashiach, he said, discerning the body, eats and drinks judgment on himself. He judges in the midst of the Allahim. God. And get what he says. That is why many of you are weak and ill, and some have died. Why they died? But if we judge ourselves truly, we would not be judged. Because Yahuwah judging. And he says, but when we are judged by Yahuwah, we are disciplined, so that he said, you are irritated. He said, it come to bother you. But when we are judged by Yahuwah, we are disciplined, so that we may not be condemned along with the world. What did the world do? So then, my brothers, when you come together to eat, wait for one another. And if anyone is hungry, let him eat at home. So when you come together, it will be not for judgment about the other things. He says other things, right? But what I wanted to go here is at right here. Same book. Same book, chapter 11, verse 17. 1 Corinthians 11, 17. But the following instructions do I now commend you, because you come together, it is not for the better, but for the worse. For in the first place, when you come together as a body, I hear that there are divisions among you, and I believe it part. For there must be factions among you in order that those who are genuine among you may be recognized. When you come together, it is not for Yahuwah's supper that you eat, for in eating, each one of you goes ahead to his own meal. One goes hungry, and another gets drunk. What? Do you not have houses to eat and drink? Or do you not despise the body of Mashiach, to humiliate those who have nothing? Isn't that what he said? He said, man, you ain't really got nothing, do you? He said, you're humiliating the people who have nothing. Guess what it says? He said, and humiliate those who have nothing? What shall I say to you? Shall I commend you for this? No, I will not. Why will he not? For I received from the master what I also delivered to you, that the Yahusha, the same night he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, this is my body, which is for you. I'm not humiliating you. I'm giving you everything. He said, you have nothing, so I'm giving it to you. All right, so this is the last thing. This is the ODE, Odes of Solomon, ODE Shalom. It's Odes of Solomon. Odes of Solomon, ODE. ODE chapter 'Odes of Solomon chapter 26. ODE, Odes of Solomon chapter 26 and verse 1. I pour out praise to Yahuwah because I am his own. And I will recite his Qahalath ODE because my heart, this is pseudepigrapha, ODE Shalom, volume 2, verse 26 and verse 3. For his, it says, verse 2 says, and I will recite his Qahalath ODE because my heart is with him. For his heart is in my hand, and the oaths of his rest shall not be silent. I will call unto him with all my heart, and I will praise and exalt him with all my members. For from the east and unto the west is his praise. Also from the south unto the north is his Aydah, thanksgiving. Just like you look at the 4 transition times. Right, and it says right here, even from the peak of the summit and unto the end of his perfection. Right, just like in the mountain of Yahuwah going to be established at the top of the mountains, above the highest mountain, every har that exalted above the higher, all the hills, and all nations shall flow, all people, all goyim shall flow to it. But guess what it says? It says, who can write the oaths of Yahuwah, or who can read them, or who can train himself for life, so that he himself may be saved? Who's going to do that? So you got to train your mind not to think that way. I have abundance, so I'll oppress the poor. I have abundance of people, I'll oppress the person who has none. Why would you do that? Who has 1 or 2 or 3? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? But it says right here, or who can prove upon the Most High, so that he would recite from his mouth? Who can interpret the wonders of Yahuwah? Though he who interprets should perish, yet that which is interpreted will remain. Right, last one. For actually one more. For it suffices to receive and be satisfied, for the odorless stand in serenity. Verse 3, last one. Like a river which has an increasingly gushing spring and flows to the relief of them that seek thee. He said, just like a river. He said, just like a river, right? So this is Matthew. 5 Matthew chapter 8, verse 15. Actually, Matthew chapter 8, verse 15. Matthew chapter 8, verse 15. If your brother or sister sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you and it says, and you have gained your brother or sister, but if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. Right? That's why he talks about by 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. He said, how many witnesses you just pulled out? He said, who can declare the things of old? As Yeshayahu said, let him bring forth his witnesses, right? And it says right here, if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the body. And if he refuses to listen to even the body, let him be to you as a goyim and a tax collector. Truly I say to you, whether you bind on earth shall be bound in Shmny'ay, whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in Shmny'ay. Again I say to you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by the Father in Shmny'ay, because he chose the actual poor to be rich in the moon. He chose the poor to be rich in the moon. It's only 2 of you. He said, I got 150, I got 200, I got 1,000, I got a whole state. He's like, how you know? Don't you know that Yahuwah chose the poor to be rich in the moon? He says right here, you ask in your Father in Shmny'ay, for where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them. He said, what was that lamb, man? He only had 1 lamb. He said the lamb was always in his arm. He was like a daughter to him. But you know what you did? You done came behind my back and you said, you done took my daughter. You done took my lamb. And he said, you know what? Thou art the man. Right? He said, there, I'm among them, right? So this is one more thing I'm doing. I promise. Right, so this is the testament of Yitzhak, Isaac, pseudepigrapha, volume 1. Testament of Isaac, pseudepigrapha, volume 1, chapter 5, and verse 1. Then a malach of Yahuwah came to him and took him in the Shmny'ay. There he beheld certain things in fear. Many wild beasts were within easy reach. And it says, skipping down to verse 10. Isaac said, I looked, and behold, they had agreed on a person and were horrifying him alone. And when they had made a sign to the lions, those who were walking with him withdrew from him. Then the lions turned upon him, tore him apart in the middle, disassembled him, and chewed and swallowed him. And after this, they ejected from him from their mouths, and he returned to his original state. And after the lions and others came forward and did the same thing to him, one after the other, they would take him, and every one of them would chew him, swallow him, and eject him, and he would return to his original state. Then I said to the malach, O master, what is the sin which this man or woman have committed that he should have to endure a burden like this? The malach said to me, it is because this man or woman whom you see was in enmity with his neighbor for 5 hours. He said enmity for 5 hours, and he died without having been reconciled with him. So he was hanged over to 5 of the tormentors, that they might torment him a whole year for each of the 5 hours, which he spent as the enemy of his friend. Right, so we look at all that, it's like Yahushua said, look at ourselves. He said he only did it for 5 hours. He said he was at enmity for 5 hours. Right, so this is the last thing. This says right here. Right, so this is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 21. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, everyone who is angry with his brother or sister will be liable of judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable of the council. Whoever says you fool will be liable of hellfire. So if you have an offer, you are offering your gift at the altar, and then remember that your brother or sister has something against you. Leave your gift there before the altar. Don't get your bread and go. First, be reconciled to your brother, and then come to offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court. Who bring you to court? He said, do not the rich oppress you? Do they not drag you to court? That's what rich people do. When you get abundance, that poor man, who cares about that poor man? Who cares about that poor man? But guess what that poor man got? That poor man can send you somewhere that you don't want to be. And get what it says. And man, with the one little you land, he can send you somewhere you don't want to be. You got all the riches and abundance, he ain't got nothing. You got all that because you worship them gods and them idols. He said he ain't got nothing. And guess what he said? And he said, be reconciled to your brother and then come offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. You're going to be tormented. Truly, I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. He said you ain't never get out after 5 hours. And for every 5 hours, you get 5 years in torment. He said you don't get out till you pay the last penny. Why? He said reconcile your debts. He said you're going to pay me because you know rich oppress you though. That's what rich do. And they, you know what they quick to do? They have something against you because they got all that abundance. You took my money. And guess what they do? They got something against you. Then you got to go reconcile to them. But guess what they're going to do? They're going to bring you to court. He said, guess what you're going to do? You're going to have to pay every last penny because do not the rich oppress you. And amazingly how you get entangled on both sides. You get entangled on both sides. And this is how Satan gets people. This is how he gets Satan gets people entangled in things they don't even get entangled with. This is why Shaul said, whether hungry or full, rich or poor, high or low, or base or abounding, I learned to be content. Because you mess around, you're going to be entangled in things. And whether you're rich or poor, and your torment will be your own works. So he said it's best to just do good all the time. And just say, you know what? I'd rather suffer to be defrauded than to take you to court. And then we both be in prison. And we both have enmity with each other. And guess what happens? You'll be tormented, both of you, until you learn to reconcile. So we look at all that. Look at Shmny'ay. Look at that. Yahuwah Elohim was a poor man who had one lamb, but then we offered that lamb. We had no pity. For he looked for pity in Psalm 69, and he said he found none. Nobody and found no pity for him. We look at ourselves as those people who didn't show pity to Shmny'ay. We didn't even have no kindness or anything to offer him. But yet he willingly laid down his life for us, that we may have right to the tree of life. He said, you know what? I'll forgive you even though you killed me and you destroyed me. And even though all these things transpired in our life, we look at him as the light of life. We look at him as the truth, the way, and the light. We look at him as life eternal. And to walk according to his light is life eternal. And not to worship other gods and idols, and not to oppress the poor and the needy. For even the poor, he said, Barak are the poor in Ruach, for they shall be filled. For theirs is the kingdom of Shmny'ay. But he also said what? Barak are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. Right? The meek shall inherit the earth.